Great Scott. Great Scott. Great Scott.
Hello everyone, I'm coming to you live from the underwater world of Atlantis with talk of Aquaman. Star Jason Mamoa, who's been cast in the upcoming Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice show. This is Great Scott, I'm Scotty B. Thanks for watching. Now, fans were all set at Twitter over a tweet that Zack Snyder tweeted out not too long ago. I'm a little behind on this one, but I had a lot to talk about in recent weeks, so I haven't gotten to this one yet. He tweeted out this picture of Jason Mamoa, star from Game of Thrones, who is very tattooed and kind of grizzly looking with long hair and a long beard and kind of intimidating, a little bit scary looking. But this will be our Aquaman for the upcoming movie. Now, as with most of the DC modern superhero films, you can see the colors are toned down, but if you look closely, you can see the green and gold, and there even looks to be the Aquaman symbol on the belt. There doesn't seem to be a ton of orange, although we'll have to see how that comes into play, if at all. Lots of fans are complaining that this doesn't look like anything like Aquaman that they know, as Aquaman has short blonde hair, and orange shirt, green pants, and it looks very clean cut as opposed to having this beard and looking very scary. Now, the problem a lot of times with Aquaman and the portrayal of Aquaman is that many non-fans or people who don't really understand the Aquaman character think he's lame or goofy or not powerful or the guy who stays around to mop the floor after the Justice League go out on their adventures. And that's simply not true. If you look at the books, not just since the New 52, but the 90s, the 80s before that, Aquaman has a lot of power. He controls all of the oceans on Earth. He's the king of Atlantis, but he also can communicate with all of the undersea life. He has super strength. He has measured invulnerability. He is almost a physical match for Superman, as Zack Snyder has said. I'm a little disappointed that Zack has said that he's pretty sure Aquaman could lay Superman out if anybody could. That's another change of attitude from what we saw when Zack was saying that it was a joke to even ask if Batman could beat the Man of Steel, Henry Cavill's Superman, because it's Batman and we're talking about Superman. But now we're getting all these other characters in. We've already heard there's going to be a physical altercation between Batman and Superman, which I don't really understand how or why you'd want to take place. And now we've got Aquaman, who Zack is also saying could lay out Superman. So we've gone from the most powerful man on Earth, Man of Steel, Henry Cavill, Superman, to two more people in a new movie that are going to be able to lay him out. And Wonder Woman is also known as kind of a physical match for Superman. So Batman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman. We know that there are so many other characters out there, and I guess they're going to introduce that every member of the Justice League would also be able to take out Superman. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to say is that I love this look. And I guess it's similar to people who don't like the change in Henry Cavill's uniform in these pictures above me. That the trunks are gone, that it's darker, that they're muting out the colors. That is their style, and that's what they do. I mean, the blue and red for Superman is still there, but it is different. And it's not traditional, and I can see how that can be a bother. I think for me it comes on a case-by-case basis. If Superman's suit had been black with no red, if he didn't fly, as he was supposed to not fly in one of the earlier incarnations that were supposed to be coming to screen. If they really changed Lex Luthor and have him be an alien who's also from Krypton, who's here to track Superman or something like that, these are changes that are almost insurmountable for me, but some uniform changes that make it a little more real-world-ish or a little more intimidating or a little more scary, as in the case with this or a Batman, I think I'm okay with it. This also harkens back to the 90s Aquaman, who had the long hair and eventually lost his hand and had a hook and he had a beard and he was a little tougher, a little more grizzled looking. And this was all in an effort to make Aquaman cooler to the people who didn't really understand how cool he could be, due to mostly the Super Friends influence, where Aquaman was kind of a kiddie character. I don't think he was goofy on purpose. I just think he was a character that maybe was meant to connect more with kids because he talked to dolphins and, you know, that kind of thing. But even on Batman the Brave and the Bold, where he was used as a comedic character, it was clear he had a lot of power, a lot of influence, and a lot of strength. On the Justice League cartoon, they used the long-haired, grizzled Aquaman, who eventually lost his hand, and he was cooler to people who were viewing. He was tough. He was badass. He knocked Superman down. Not necessarily meaning that he's better or bigger or stronger than Superman, but that he can match him in a battle and that it would be a fight. I think it's cool. I like Jason Mamoa. I don't think he has really been shown to necessarily be a great actor. There hasn't been a lot of acting opportunity, although on Game of Thrones he was forced to use a language that doesn't exist and didn't speak any English, so he had to get across a lot of his emotions with his eyes, with his thoughts that you could see, with his actions. So that could be an indicator that he's also a pretty good actor. We'll see what happens. I'm guessing that Aquaman's going to have a somewhat minor role in this, a cameo at the end or a one-scene sort of thing where he either helps or introduces himself in a badass kind of way. But we'll see what happens with the movie. For now, I really like the look. I think it's indicative of the 90s look of Aquaman, even though he does have a dark beard and the dark hair. You do see some blondish strewn throughout. I'm not sure what the explanation is going to be for tough guy Aquaman to be dyeing his hair at a underwater salon or what. But there's green in the pants. I like the gold cuffs. And it's interesting how they incorporated some of his tattoos into the underwater design. I also heard people say I don't think underwater people would have tattoos. I'm not really sure why that would be the case, but they could also be, as opposed to tattoos, markings that their people have natively. I think Aquaman is supposed to be a crossover between human and Atlantean, though, so maybe they are tattoos. Who knows exactly what it is, but all kinds of tribes on planet Earth have tattoos. All kinds of Polynesian, as Jason Mamoa himself is, have these markings that they put on, traditional markings for their family, for their heritage, and it could be something like that in Atlantis. So there's no reason why he couldn't have traditional markings on himself from Atlantis or from whatever earthly world area his Earth side is from. We'll see how they explain it. I would guess not too much will be explained in the Batman v Superman movie, because there's just not going to be a lot of time for delving into each character when you're spending so much time on Batman and Superman. But I think the look's cool. I've always kind of liked Aquaman. He was kind of made fun of from the Super Friends cartoon, and lots of comedians continue to make fun of him because they don't really care, they don't really understand, they don't really know, and they don't care to know. It's a joke to them, and they're not that interested in Aquaman or superheroes in general. But Aquaman's got a lot of power and a lot of strength, and he has an awesome ability to be used in these movies coming in the future. There's all kinds of stories that feature Aquaman, who is clearly useful. He's no joke, everyone. Thanks for watching, and remember, always look up in the sky. Coming clean, but the day seems not too long. But the days are in the road.